I helped my fiancée test drive single life permanently and gave back her engagement ring after she stated, "I need to test drive a few other men before we get married. I want to be absolutely sure you're the one." Her response was spectacular. Reddit, hello. About 6 months have passed since this incident, and I'm now prepared to discuss the total chaos of my relationship with my ex-fiancée. Names have been altered for obvious reasons, but all the information is accurate. This ride gets crazy, so fasten your seatbelt. I'm a 34-year-old man who works as a senior sales manager for a Phoenix-based commercial real estate firm. It took me roughly 8 years to advance from entry level. However, I currently earn about $190,000 annually, plus bonuses that can treble that amount in prosperous years. The local real estate market has been booming, and I've been making good money off of it. I was absolutely not the guy that got the girl when I was a kid. Rather than courting, the overweight student with the thick spectacles spent the majority of high school playing video games. It wasn't until I was 25 that I had my first committed girlfriend, and that only lasted 6 months. I was the quintessential late bloomer who assumed that my interests and savings would likely be left to me alone. The problem with success, though, is this. It alters how others perceive you. All of a sudden, giving a great performance in commercial real estate changed from being merely a salesperson to being a pretty attractive woman, particularly when you can drive a BMW, own a gorgeous home in Scottsdale, and travel to Europe whenever you want. This is where Madison enters the picture. About 2.5 years ago, I met her on Hinge. At the age of 28, she was employed as a social media coordinator for a startup that, as I subsequently learned, essentially sold desperate individuals expensive vitamins. However, she was gorgeous, a real 9 out of 10 blonde, well-proportioned, and the type of woman who would never have even noticed me in high school. The first thing that ought to have raised suspicion was how quickly she proceeded. By the second week, she was spending weekends at my house after we met on Tuesday, had coffee on Wednesday, and had dinner on Friday. But to be honest, it was like winning the lotto to have someone that attractive show interest in me after years of dating difficulties. She had this amazing ability to make me feel like the most significant person on the planet. Would wear my workplace polo shirts around the home, surprise me with lunch at work, and share these adorable couple pictures on Instagram with heartfelt messages. It was totally intoxicating for someone who had never received that much attention from a beautiful woman. The money requests started tiny and covert. On dates, I would naturally cover everything when she forgot her purse. She would worry about the costly repairs her automobile would require until I volunteered to help. I proposed that she move in with me in order to save money because her startup wasn't paying her rent on time. In retrospect, it's glaringly clear. However, your judgment becomes severely impaired when you are constantly showered with affection by someone who is far above your level. She moved into my house about 8 months after we started dating. The costs really began to mount at that point. Because she only bought organic, non-GMO products from Whole Foods, my shopping cost increased threefold. She required a $180 monthly subscription to this upscale yoga class. She clearly needed the newest iPhone Pro because her phone broke. She would become silent and melancholy whenever I was hesitant to spend, until I felt bad and gave in. Here's what, though, kept me interested. She was often talking about our future together, the kind of wedding she envisioned, where we would live after marriage, and the children we would eventually have. There were hundreds of wedding dress designs and location photographs on her enormous Pinterest board. It felt amazing to someone who had never had anyone plan a future with him. I was totally enamored with her after we had been dating for 18 months. This beautiful woman planned our entire life together, loved me, and wanted to marry me. I didn't think twice when she began to hint at engagement rings last Christmas. $18,000 was spent on it too. She'd said that she'd always wanted a real diamond from a real jeweler, so she bought a 5-carat diamond from Scottsdale's most costly jewelry store. Everything she had indicated she desired was included in the proposal. A pricey eatery with a view, a secret photographer to record the occasion, and the ideal Instagram setup. She instantly wrote about it with hashtags like blessed and future wife after saying yes and crying happy tears. She looked radiant, and the post received more than 500 likes. 5 months have passed since then. Everything appeared ideal until 6 weeks ago, when the most absurd conversation of my life completely upended my universe. On a Thursday night in early March, something occurred. I had just returned home after sealing a huge deal for an office building that would earn me a substantial bonus. I had a lot of energy and was considering surprising Madison with a celebration weekend trip to San Diego. She usually went to her boutique fitness classes after work, which I was paying for with another $160 a month. So it was strange that she was already home. She was seated on the $5,000 sectional couch that she had persuaded me was a must for entertaining. With this odd look on her face, she was browsing through her phone. I took some water out of our stainless steel refrigerator, which was also her pick and cost a lot, and I sat down beside her, prepared to tell her that I was happy with the purchase. I asked, still feeling energized after my successful closure, "How was your day, babe?" She remained glued to her phone. My stomach fell when I said, "Derek, we need to have a serious conversation about something important." Do you recognize that tone? Nothing positive ever comes from that specific word combination. I reasoned that she might be pregnant, wished to move to a larger home, or be involved in wedding preparations. I responded, turning off the TV entirely. "What's going on?" When she eventually turned to face me, she made what is still the most bizarre thing I have ever heard a human being say. "After giving our relationship a lot of thought, I've come to the conclusion that I should look into other love possibilities before we get married." I merely gave her a blank stare. What does explore other options mean? She spoke as though she were teaching a youngster the fundamentals of arithmetic. "Actually, the only committed relationship I've ever been in is with you. If I haven't seen what else might be out there, how can I possibly know whether you're really the greatest option for me?" I had the impression that I had entered a different reality. "We're engaged, Madison. For months, we have been organizing our wedding. On Pinterest, you have 17 distinct boards devoted to our future together." In fact, she gave me an eye roll. "Derek, that's precisely what I'm saying. This is a huge life decision, and I would be utterly careless if I didn't make sure I'm choosing the best course of action. If I ended up settling for less than what I could have, that would be unfair to both of us." Settling. She referred to marrying me as settling. This woman, who had been living in my house for more than a year and whose whole lifestyle I was paying for on my own, was suggesting to me that she might be settling by consenting to marry me. "What precisely are you suggesting, then?" I inquired. Considering the way this conversation was going, I honestly couldn't believe it. "I want us to put our engagement on hold for a bit and go on dates with other people. Really look into what's out there, you know. After that, we can both decide with complete knowledge whether or not we wish to dedicate our lives to one another." It was astounding how bold they were. She requested that I put our relationship on indefinite hold while she looked for a better alternative. And she was portraying it as a rational, grown-up method of relationship planning. "That's what it means to be single, Madison. We're broken up if you want to date other people." This irritated look came across her face. "Derek, why must you think in such binary terms all the time? I don't intend to end things forever. I'm saying that I want us to consider all of our alternatives so that we can decide on the best course of action for our happiness in the future. Both of us. I don't want to look at other possibilities. You were my choice. I literally proposed for that reason." "Well, perhaps you ought to look into other possibilities as well. Perhaps you find that there are other ladies who truly fit your personality and way of life better than I do." Everything fell into place at that point. She had already found another person. This was not a philosophical conversation about ensuring our compatibility. She had met someone she thought was better than me, and she wanted to be allowed to pursue him with me as a surefire fallback. "Who is he?" I asked outright. She made an effort to appear naive and perplexed. "Who is who?" "The man you wish to discuss your options with." "Who is he?" Her face flushed instantly. "Derek, there isn't a certain somebody. Making the correct decision for our future is the only thing at stake here." However, I could see the truth etched on her face. Her flawless teeth were being used to lie. That night, I was unable to sleep. Madison pretended as if nothing important had occurred at all. I got her a $70 supplement powder, and she made herself a protein smoothie. Then, she went to bed as if she hadn't just suggested that we put our engagement on hold so she might try out other men. The following day at work was a complete waste of time. Unable to concentrate, I kept looking at real estate listings without really reading them. After noticing that I was utterly off, my coworker, who shares my workplace, took me out to lunch. "You look awful, dude. What's going on?" I filled him in on the whole story. He simply shook his head after giving me a lengthy look. "She's already cheating on you, brother. Unless they have a specific person lined up and prepared to go, No one recommends taking a break. I fervently hoped I was mistaken, even though I knew he was 100% correct. I did something I had never done in a relationship before when I went home that night. While she was taking one of her hour-long showers, I looked through her phone. Something was screaming at me that I needed to know what was actually going on, even though I knew it was against privacy. In any case, her phone was constantly unlocked around me. She asserted that she had nothing to conceal from her prospective spouse. She was keeping everything a secret. I started by finding a text exchange with a person named Tyler Chun. Indeed, Tyler was his real name. It seems that the universe finds amusement in these things. The communications were from nearly 3 months ago. They were sufficiently innocent at first. They had reportedly met at her yoga class, where he was an instructor, but as I read through the exchange, they became increasingly flirtatious and inappropriate. I'm excited for our private meeting tomorrow morning, Tyler. Me, Madison. Tyler, you are an incredible educator. Madison, I'm aware of a few other stances we might attempt. You certainly do. As I read more, my hands were actually shaking. It became much worse. Your guy doesn't seem to realize how unique you are, Tyler. Tell me about it, Madison. Lately, he has become so monotonous and predictable. He is only interested in his job and earning money. Tyler, you deserve a partner who shares your enthusiasm and vigor. Perhaps I do, Madison. After only 5 days, Tyler, when will you stop being a corporate drone and start dating a real man who gets you? Soon, Madison. Right now, I'm working on the logistics. We just need to determine the most effective strategy. What logistics, Tyler? Simply gather your belongings and depart. It's complicated, Madison. I have nowhere to go right now, and he pays for absolutely everything. You can live with me at any time, Tyler. Lovely. I know, sweetie Madison. Very soon. I was physically ill. She wasn't experiencing an existential crisis over our marriage or our connection in general. For months, she had been actively preparing to leave me for this Tyler person. The only thing holding her back from leaving right away was her desire to maintain her comfortable lifestyle until she was certain that her upgrading would be financially feasible. I heard the shower shutting off at that moment. When she came out, I quickly put her phone back where she had left it and claimed to be reading real estate news. She exclaimed, "Hey, sweetie," as if nothing were amiss. "What are our supper plans for tonight?" Actually, I was thinking we should continue our conversation from yesterday about exploring other options. I said calmly as I glanced at the lady I'd thought I loved, who had been methodically arranging my successor while letting me fund her entire existence. Her eyes immediately lit up with excitement. "Really? Are you genuinely receptive to the concept?" "Yeah," I replied. "I believe you could be correct. Both of us ought to check out what else is out there." She was almost glowing with joy. "Derek, oh my God. I'm so glad you can relate. Both of us will benefit much from this." I nodded in agreement, already formulating my next course of action. Madison didn't waste any time at all. She texted me the very next day to let me know that she would be staying up late having dinner with a girlfriend. I was certain of which girlfriend she was talking about. That night, I did some research. On social media, Tyler Chun was surprisingly easy to find. A 30-year-old yoga instructor at the same pricey studio Madison frequented. He frequently shared inspirational sayings and pictures of himself in a shirtless meditation pose along with updates on his spiritual quest. With his top-knot hairdo, articles about cleanses and crystal healing, and motivational quotes about generating riches, the man was a walking cliché. Pictures of various women at upscale dining establishments and spiritual retreats were all over his Instagram. A traditional manipulator who most likely had several women to support his sophisticated way of life. Here's what was actually fascinating, though. It's clear that his posts about success and money were fake. He was constantly taking pictures of high-end vehicles and designer goods. But if you looked closely, you could see that they belonged to other people. Screenshots of apps for meditation that purport to be investing accounts. Photos taken at upscale hotels that were obviously only lobby visits. He was interested in Madison, which made perfect sense given that he was essentially operating a spiritual hoax to get ladies who would fund his lifestyle. Based on her social media posts that showed off our lavish lifestyle, which was fully paid for by me, he most likely assumed she was affluent. He obviously didn't know she was broke and only good at wasting other people's money. Around midnight on that first night, Madison arrived home, giddy with anticipation. "How did your evening go?" she inquired, obviously unconcerned with my response. All right. How was your friend's dinner? Amazing. We visited that brand new Old Town organic farm-to-table restaurant. The meal changed my life. I almost burst out laughing. I had taken her to the same restaurant on our one-year anniversary, and Tyler had taken her there as well. The price per participant was around $150. A yoga instructor could never afford that on a regular basis, let alone to impress a woman he was courting. In an attempt to keep up his facade, he was most likely depleting his savings account. Madison spent the next 3 weeks seldom at home, always going to spiritual classes or engaging in thought-provoking discussions with soul companions. She had brought back shopping bags from upscale stores, brand new yoga gear, and ongoing spa services. She explained that Tyler was assisting her in making investments in her personal and spiritual development when I questioned how she was able to afford all of these items. The woman was completely shameless. She continued to live in my home, eat my food, drive the car I helped her buy, and pretend that she was doing me a favor by pursuing her spiritual connection with other souls, all the while letting this guy spend money on her. Watching her get careless in concealing her deceit, however, was the most amusing aspect. She brought home jewelry I had never seen before, left receipts from pricey restaurants lying around, and continued to deliver shipments from high-end stores to my address. I discovered a shopping bag from a high-end lingerie store in her car one afternoon. She said she had bought some new yoga clothes to help fund her practice when I questioned her about it. Yoga clothes purchased from a lingerie shop. Of course, I could have gone right up to her. I could have thrown her out and put a stop to the whole drama at that point, but I wanted to see how far she would take things. And I was working on a strategy that would give her a lesson she would never forget. For weeks into her period of spiritual exploration, she reached a breaking point. She texted me while I was working late on a big real estate deal. "Hey, sweetie, I'm spending tonight at my college buddy Emma's house. This weekend is a spiritual retreat for girls." One of her undergraduate pals, Emma, lived in Denver. Emma literally shared Instagram stories from her wedding in Colorado the same weekend, so I knew she wasn't in Phoenix. I realized it was time to carry out my strategy at that point. I wasn't going to end things quietly, though. I was going to make sure she understood the consequences of trying to control someone who is more intelligent than you believe. I started my study project on a day off, began with Tyler's social media presence, and worked its way up. The man was even more of a phony than I had thought. In reality, his lucrative yoga company consisted of his teaching 3 classes a week at the studio for roughly $25 apiece, plus possibly 2 private sessions each month. His articles about his spiritual lifestyle were a total fabrication. He likely shared an apartment with several housemates and used photographs from meditation retreats and phony screenshots of riches. His Venmo account, which he kept public because he reportedly believed it made him appear successful, was the most shocking discovery, though. The man was absolutely broke. Very broke, really broke. He and his housemates divided the rent 4 ways. He was always asking friends and family for little sums of money, and he had been borrowing money from everyone he knew in order to pay for his dates with Madison. I also came across his YouTube channel, where he made an effort to influence people with a spiritual lifestyle. His videos, which showed him meditating in what was plainly a garage while discussing creating abundance, but obviously living in poverty, had 89 subscribers and were pitiful. My favorite find, however, was a video he posted about 8 months ago in which he lamented his lack of money and his frustration with dating spiritually unawakened women who don't encourage him on his path. He actually stated that he was looking for a goddess who was both materially and spiritually wealthy so that she could support his goal while he established his conscious economic empire. Madison believed she was becoming a prosperous spiritual businesswoman. She was actually downgrading to a broke wannabe guru who was exploiting her to get money. Exactly what she had been using me for. That's when I came up with my lovely, straightforward plan. I began by creating new bank accounts and methodically moving my funds out of any banks that she might have had access to. Just enough money remained in our joint accounts to pay for one last month's utilities and rent. For her benefit, I then systematically terminated all of my subscriptions and automatic payments that were being sent to my credit cards. Everything that had been routinely billed to my accounts, her phone plan, her auto insurance, and her membership to the yoga studio, was canceled. However, I kept this information from her. I kept on being very normal, even supporting her spiritual development. I informed her that I was glad of her personal growth when she expressed how delighted she was experimenting with her connections with new individuals. The most lovely thing was seeing her grow more at ease with her deceit. She stopped trying to conceal anything at all and would speak candidly about Tyler, her spiritual mentor, and all of the incredible experiences they were having together. After 2 weeks of my plan, the first consequence occurred. The automatic payment failed. Therefore, her phone service was cut off. In a panic, she requested me to get in touch with the phone company to fix the problem. That's odd, I responded. Let me look into what went wrong. My credit card was canceled because of questionable activity, and I called the company to find out that they required me to confirm my identification before they could restore service. I informed her that it would likely take a few days to get resolved. She was irritated but not yet suspicious. She was undoubtedly staying at his apartment on a daily basis, as Tyler allowed her to call me a couple times. Her membership to the yoga studio was canceled a few days later. Next, her auto insurance. I always had a perfectly good justification for it. Bureaucratic challenges, identity theft prevention, and banking security issues. This is what she was unaware of, though. Using our family plan, I was keeping an eye on her use of Lyft and Uber, and the story of the receipts was becoming more and more urgent. By week 5 of Madison's spiritual development, Tyler was obviously growing weary of supporting their relationship. Madison was no longer letting her live at his apartment permanently, as seen by the rideshare receipts, which showed her making several daily trips back and forth between my place and his apartment. Additionally, she was using taxis to increasingly less expensive eateries and locations. Chain restaurants and coffee shops had replaced the pricey farm-to-table dates. By the time the funds ran out, the spiritual romance was swiftly withering. Then Madison sent me a string of more desperate texts. Derek, there's a major issue with each of our accounts. Would you kindly fix this right away? I am unable to purchase groceries. It's getting pretty stressful. Tyler believes I'm lying about how I'm doing financially. Derek, please answer. Right now, I need you to send me some money via Venmo. Before answering, I let her worry for a whole day. I'm sorry, sweetie. Been utterly overwhelmed by this significant transaction. What's going on? She called me right away, almost crying. Everything is disintegrating. I'm having trouble with my phone service. All of my cards are currently not functioning anywhere, and my yoga membership was canceled. I believe my identity may have been stolen. Oh no, I murmured, seeming to be worried. That sounds awful. Have you yet to submit a police report? I'm at a loss on what to do. Tyler is becoming quite irate because he believes I have been lying about my financial status, and I am stranded at his house. To help me at least get a ride home, could you kindly send some money to my Venmo? Naturally, my dear. What is the amount that you require? About $300? I swear that as soon as we settle this identity theft issue, I will reimburse you right away. I hesitated for a long time. Madison, I have a direct question for you. Are you unfaithful to me? Total quiet. Then what? No. Why would you even ask that, Derek? Because Tyler has been liking all of your postings on social media. You've been talking about him a lot lately, and you've been going out late. I'm just worried. You're being paranoid, Derek. Tyler is merely a yoga studio spiritual mentor. We've talked about this. Both of us are considering our alternatives. Keep in mind that's what we decided to do. You're entirely correct. She called again 4 hours later and said, I don't see the Venmo transfer. Can you please check the status? That's weird. Let me look. I said, I'm sorry for being suspicious. I'll send you the money immediately. Thank you so much. I love you, Derek. We're going to work through this together. I could hear her beginning to panic. This identity theft situation is really affecting everything. It's showing that the transaction failed. Something about my account being temporarily frozen due to suspicious activity. I'm stuck here, and Tyler is getting really upset because he believes I'm trying to use him for money. Can he give you a ride home? He said he's busy tonight, and his car isn't working properly. I'm really sorry, babe. Let me see if I can borrow some cash from my colleague and come get you myself. But again, I didn't show up. I turned off my phone and went to bed early, sleeping better than I had in months. The following morning, I had 31 missed calls and about 50 text messages. His car wasn't working. Right. More likely Tyler was realizing that Madison wasn't the wealthy spiritual goddess he thought she was and was quickly losing interest. The messages began with an angry message, followed by a desperate one. Derek, please. I really need help. Followed by a manipulative one. I can't believe you'd abandon me like this when I need you most. And finally, this is exactly why I needed to explore other options. You're completely unreliable. Madison had apparently been kicked out of Tyler's apartment around 2 in the morning, and she had to walk home in her pricey yoga outfit because she couldn't afford a ride-sharing service. My phone died, and I couldn't find a charger anywhere. Are you okay? What happened? She was crying when she called. Real tears, not the fake ones she used to get what she wanted. Tyler and I got into a heated argument, and he accused me of using him for money, saying that I was just a spoiled princess who didn't value what she had. When I asked him to help me get home, he told me that he wasn't my personal bank account and that I should call my rich boyfriend if I needed financial support. I nearly burst out laughing. Tyler had figured out that Madison was broke and had immediately lost all interest. The man who had been love-bombing her with spiritual wisdom and expensive dates revealed his true nature the moment he realized she couldn't contribute financially to their relationship. After all, he told me he never wanted to see me again and threw me out of his apartment at 2 in the morning. She remained silent for a while before Derek said, I think I made a serious mistake. This whole exploring options thing, it wasn't what I expected it to be. What do you mean? I mean, I miss us. I miss what we had together. Tyler turned out to be completely different than I had anticipated. He's broke and selfish and only cared about me when he thought I had money to spend on him. I let that realization sink in for a moment. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You deserve so much better than that kind of treatment. I understand now that you are the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I was so foolish to risk losing you. So I delivered the final blow. Madison, I said calmly, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? There was no identity theft. I canceled everything myself. There was a long silence. Then what do you mean? I mean, I've been aware of your affair with Tyler since the beginning, and I've read all of your text messages that you sent. Derek, I can explain everything. You don't need to explain anything. You see, I was considering my own options while you were busy considering your spiritual options, such as whether I wanted to be with someone who would cheat on me, lie to me, and use me as a personal ATM while I looked for someone better. I know you've been planning to leave me for months, and I know you were only staying with me because of my money. She began to cry once more. Derek, please. I made a terrible mistake. I love you. Tyler was a horrible person, and I realized that you are the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Madison, you don't love me. You love my bank account. You love having someone pay for your lifestyle while you do whatever you want. But here's the thing. I'm done being your personal financial support system. What are you saying? I'm telling you to pack your things and leave my house today. You can't be serious, Derek. Where am I supposed to go? I don't have any money. Remember? All our accounts are having issues. Not our accounts, my accounts, which you never should have had access to in the first place. I've already transferred all my money to other accounts that you can't touch. You can't just throw me out. This is my home, too. Well, it's not. Your name isn't on the deed. You don't pay the mortgage, and you have no legal right to be here. I'll give you a day to pack your things and decide what to do. I have nowhere to go, Derek. We were on a break you planned specifically so you could cheat guilt-free while keeping me as a backup plan. But here's what you didn't count on. I'm nobody's backup plan. That's when she completely changed tactics. Okay, so you know what? You're pathetic, Derek. It's no wonder I wanted to look into other options. You're boring, and you'll never find someone as good as me. Tyler won't take me back. I don't have any money saved. I can't even afford a hotel room for one night. Madison tried every manipulation tactic in her toolbox over the course of the next few hours, crying, pleading, promising to change completely, threatening to destroy my property, claiming she might be pregnant, which she was not, saying she would tell everyone that I was controlling and abusive, saying, good luck with that, and finally offering to make things right in the bedroom. Maybe you're right, I said, but here's the difference between us. The best part was yet to come. At around 7 p.m., I heard a knock at my front door, looked through the peephole, and began to smile. It was Tyler. I opened the door and asked, "Can I help you?" Tyler was exactly what I had anticipated. I sat in my living room drinking coffee and watching her pack her expensive clothes into garbage bags because she could no longer afford proper luggage. He was fake tanned, a little shorter than me, wearing yoga pants and a meditation retreat t-shirt, and he looked really nervous. Yeah. I'm here to pick up Madison. Madison, I called. Your ride is here. She came out of the bedroom with her bags, looking totally embarrassed. Tyler glanced around my house, taking in the view of the mountains, the expensive furniture, and the huge television. I could see him mentally calculating. "This is your place?" Before turning back to me. "Yeah, why do you ask?" he asked. Tyler's face changed completely, and he looked at Madison with disgust. "You told me he was a loser." "He is," Madison said desperately. "You told me you were just some boring salesman who lived in a tiny apartment." "Nope," I said, laughing. "You are a senior sales manager, have a six-figure income, and own this house outright. And you left this for me?" Tyler shook his head. "Lady, I teach yoga classes for $25 each and share an apartment with 3 roommates. What the hell were you thinking?" At that point, Madison lost all control and began yelling at us, calling me controlling and calling Tyler a loser. He stated that we were both pathetic and that she deserved better than either of us. But Tyler was looking around my house, obviously realizing what Madison was making up for. For months ago, Madison moved back in with her parents in Tucson and is working at some multi-level marketing company selling skincare products on Instagram. She tried to reach me multiple times, claiming she had learned her lesson and wanted to work things out, but I blocked her on all platforms. Tyler simply left her standing in my driveway with her garbage bags, screaming after him. I upgraded my ride after eliminating my problems. I wrote on social media after returning the engagement ring to the jewelry store and using the money I received as a down payment for a brand new Corvette. Tyler reportedly lost his job at the yoga studio due to unsuitable client relationships, and he has resumed posting phony inspirational sayings over stock images of